The Journey of Lila, Rising from the Ashes. Chapter 1. The Shattered Dream. Lila had always been a dreamer. As a child, she imagined herself as a renowned dancer, captivating audiences with her graceful moves. Her passion for dance drove her through years of rigorous training and countless performances. By the time she was in her early 20s, she was on the brink of achieving her dream, with a promising career ahead. But life has a way of challenging our plans. One fateful evening, while preparing for a major performance, Lila suffered a severe injury that shattered her right knee. The doctors delivered the devastating news. Her injury was so severe that she might never dance again. The news felt like the end of her world. Her dreams, once so vivid and within reach, seemed to crumble before her eyes. Lila fell into a deep depression. The vibrant energy that once defined her was replaced by a sense of despair. She couldn't imagine a future without dance and struggled to find meaning in her life. Chapter 2. The Unexpected Mentor. Months went by, and Lila's physical therapy was slow and painful. One day, during one of her sessions, she met an elderly woman named Mrs. Ruth, who was also undergoing rehabilitation. Mrs. Ruth was a retired school teacher with a twinkle in her eye and a wealth of stories to share. Despite her own challenges, Mrs. Ruth always seemed to have a positive outlook. As they chatted, Mrs. Ruth shared her own story of overcoming hardship. She had faced numerous obstacles in her life, including the loss of her husband and a battle with cancer. Yet, she found solace and purpose in helping others, particularly through teaching and mentoring. Inspired by Mrs. Ruth's resilience, Lila began to see her situation differently. She realized that while she might never dance again, she still had the ability to impact others' lives in meaningful ways. Chapter 3. The New Path. With a newfound sense of purpose, Lila decided to channel her energy into something new. She began volunteering at a local community center, teaching dance to children from underprivileged backgrounds. Initially, it was difficult for her to step away from her own ambitions and focus on the needs of others. But as she worked with the children, Lila found joy in their enthusiasm and progress. Her interactions with the kids were filled with laughter and learning. She discovered that she could still express her passion for dance through teaching and inspiring others. The more she engaged with the children, the more she felt a sense of fulfillment that had been missing from her life. Lila also started a blog to share her experiences and offer encouragement to others facing their own battles. Her writings, filled with honesty and hope, resonated with many readers. She found solace in connecting with people who were dealing with similar struggles, and her blog quickly gained a following. Chapter 4. Embracing the new reality years passed, and Lila's life transformed in ways she had never imagined. She continued to teach dance, write, and inspire others. Her blog became a platform for discussing resilience and personal growth, and she was invited to speak at various events about her journey from despair to renewal. One particularly memorable event was a charity gala, where Lila spoke about the importance of finding purpose even when dreams are shattered. She shared her story with a room full of people who had faced their own challenges, and her message of hope and perseverance touched many hearts. Lila also reconnected with Mrs. Ruth, who had become a dear friend and mentor. They continued to support each other through life's ups and downs, and their friendship was a testament to the power of connection and encouragement. Chapter 5: A Legacy of Hope. As Lila looked back on her journey, she realized that her life had taken a different path than she had initially envisioned, but it was a path filled with its own rewards and meaning. Her work with the children, her writing, and her speeches had created a legacy of hope that extended far beyond her own struggles. She had learned that while it's natural to grieve the loss of a dream, it's also possible to discover new dreams and find joy in unexpected places. Her story became a beacon of hope for others facing their own difficulties, showing them that even in the face of adversity, there is always the possibility for growth and renewal. Epilogue: The Gift of Resilience. Lila's story serves as a powerful reminder that life's most profound transformations often come from our most challenging moments. Her journey from a shattered dream to a life of purpose illustrates that while we cannot always control the circumstances we face, we can control how we respond to them. For those feeling hopeless, remember that every setback can be a setup for a comeback. Even when dreams are lost, new dreams can be found. And within those new dreams lies the potential for a fulfilling and meaningful life. The Garden of Dreams. In the bustling city of Crescent Valley, nestled among towering buildings and busy streets, lay an abandoned lot that had long been forgotten. It was a patch of land overrun with weeds and debris, a stark contrast to the vibrant city surrounding it. For years, the lot had been a symbol of neglect, but to Mia Alvarez, it represented a dream waiting to be realized. Mia was a young woman with a deep love for nature and a vision to transform the lot into a flourishing community garden. Growing up in Crescent Valley, she had always been inspired by the idea of a green space where people could come together and reconnect with nature. Driven by her passion, Mia decided to take on the challenge of turning the neglected lot into the Garden of Dreams. With limited resources and a small team of volunteers, Mia began the monumental task of cleaning the lot. She spent countless hours removing trash, clearing debris, and preparing the soil. Her vision was to create a space where people could grow their own food, learn about sustainable practices, and build a stronger community. Despite her efforts, Mia faced numerous obstacles. The initial enthusiasm from the community waned, and she struggled to secure funding for the project. Local businesses were hesitant to get involved, and city officials were slow to offer support. Mia also worked multiple part-time jobs to support herself and fund the garden, often working late into the night to make ends meet. Just as things began to improve, disaster struck. The garden was vandalized by individuals who were either jealous or simply uninterested in the project. The damage was extensive, with newly planted beds destroyed and equipment stolen. To make matters worse, a severe drought hit the city, leaving the garden without sufficient water and threatening the survival of the plants. Mia was devastated. The vandalism and drought felt like an insurmountable blow, and the weight of the project's challenges seemed too much to bear. She found herself questioning whether the garden could ever recover or if she should simply give up on her dream. In her darkest hour, Mia made a difficult decision. Instead of abandoning the project, she reached out to the community for help. She organized a town meeting to explain the situation and ask for support. To her surprise, the response was overwhelmingly positive. The community rallied around Mia, inspired by her determination and passion. Local businesses began to contribute resources, including tools, plants, and financial support. A local gardening club offered to help with the replanting efforts and provided expertise on water-efficient irrigation systems. Neighbors volunteered their time to repair the damage and help maintain the garden. With renewed energy and a sense of collective purpose, the garden began to recover. The new irrigation system helped to overcome the drought, and the community's involvement brought a fresh sense of optimism. The Garden of Dreams began to bloom, transforming from a symbol of despair into a beacon of hope. The grand reopening of the garden was a joyous occasion. The once abandoned lot was now a vibrant space filled with colorful flowers, lush vegetables, and bustling activity. Families, children, and individuals gathered to celebrate the garden's revival, enjoying its beauty and the sense of community it fostered. The Garden of Dreams became more than just a garden. It became a hub of connection and inspiration for Crescent Valley. It hosted educational workshops, community events, and social gatherings. Mia's dream had come to fruition, not just through her efforts, but through the collective support and collaboration of the entire community. Mia continued to work passionately on the garden, expanding its programs and initiatives. Her story became a powerful example of perseverance, showing that even in the face of overwhelming challenges, hope and determination can lead to remarkable transformations. The Garden of Dreams stood as a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of working together to achieve a common goal. In the years that followed, the garden flourished, becoming a cherished part of Crescent Valley. It inspired other projects and initiatives, spreading the message that with hope, hard work, and community support, even the most ambitious dreams can become reality. The Journey of Ethan, a story of hope and redemption. Chapter 1. The Darkest Hour. Ethan had always been the kind of person who saw the world through a lens of optimism. His friends often admired his resilience, his ability to find a silver lining even in the direst of circumstances. But all of that changed when Ethan's world came crashing down. At 32, Ethan was living a life that he once thought was the pinnacle of success. He had a stable job as a project manager, a loving partner named Sarah, and a cozy apartment in the city. However, the sudden onset of a severe illness forced him to leave his job, and soon after, his relationship with Sarah fell apart due to the strain of his illness. The days that followed were dark and lonely. Ethan's once vibrant life was now a blur of doctor's appointments and medications. His friends and family tried to support him, but the isolation of his condition made him feel like he was sinking into an abyss with no way out. He felt hopeless, as if the light at the end of the tunnel had vanished. Chapter 2: The Spark of Change. One cold winter evening, Ethan sat by his window, watching the snowflakes drift down from the sky. He felt numb, both physically and emotionally. It was on this evening that he received a letter from an old mentor, Professor Harrison, whom he hadn't seen in years. The letter was short, but it was filled with encouragement. Dear Ethan, I heard about the challenges you're facing. Life is a journey filled with ups and downs, but it's in the darkest times that we often find our true strength. Remember, every storm eventually passes, and sometimes we must weather the storm to discover a new path. I believe in you. Reach out if you need anything. The letter was a small spark in Ethan's dark world. He found solace in Professor Harrison's words and decided to reach out for help. He started by attending therapy sessions and joined a support group for people dealing with chronic illness. It was in these settings that Ethan began to rebuild his sense of self-worth. Chapter 3: A New Perspective. Months went by, and while Ethan's health did not miraculously improve, his outlook on life began to change. He realized that his worth was not defined by his job or his relationship, but by his ability to persevere and find meaning in his struggles. One day, during a group session, Ethan met Clara, a young woman who had been through her own share of hardships. Clara was an artist, and she used painting as a way to cope with her pain. Inspired by her, Ethan decided to take up a new hobby. He began to write, not with the intention of publishing a book, but as a form of therapy. Writing became Ethan's sanctuary. He poured his thoughts, fears, and hopes into his journal. His writings were raw and unfiltered, but they were also a testament to his journey from despair to hope. As he wrote, he discovered a newfound passion for storytelling and began to share his experiences with others, hoping to inspire those who were struggling. Chapter 4: The Power of Connection. Ethan's journey of self-discovery and healing led him to volunteer at local community centers, where he shared his story with individuals who were facing their own battles. He found immense joy in connecting with others, offering them support, and listening to their stories. It was through these connections that Ethan realized he had a unique ability to make a difference in the lives of others. One particular encounter was with a young man named David, who was struggling with severe depression. David had lost his job and felt isolated from the world. Ethan took him under his wing and through their conversations, David began to see a glimmer of hope. Ethan's empathy and encouragement helped David to seek professional help, and eventually led him to pursue a new career path that reignited his passion for life. Chapter 5. Embracing the Journey. Years passed, and while Ethan's health remained a challenge, he had found a sense of purpose. He continued to write, speak, and volunteer, touching the lives of many. His story was no longer just about his struggle, but about the triumph of the human spirit. Ethan realized that the journey of life was not about avoiding the storms, but about learning to navigate them. He had embraced his challenges, used them as stepping stones, and found purpose in helping others. His life was far from perfect, but it was rich with meaning and connection. Epilogue: A Beacon of Hope. Ethan's story is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is a flicker of light waiting to be discovered. It teaches us that hope can be found in the most unexpected places, and that the human spirit has an incredible capacity for resilience and growth. For those who feel hopeless, remember that you are not alone. Like Ethan, you have the strength to navigate through your struggles, and there is always a way forward. Embrace your journey, seek support, and never lose sight of the possibility of change. The Lighthouse of Hope. On the rugged coast of Seaview, where the waves crashed against the rocks and the winds howled through the cliffs, stood an old, abandoned lighthouse. Once a beacon for ships navigating treacherous waters, the lighthouse had fallen into disrepair. Its light had long been extinguished, and its structure had begun to deteriorate, mirroring the struggles of the small town of Seaview. Leo Turner, a young and idealistic resident of Seaview, had always been captivated by the lighthouse. As a child, he had marveled at its towering presence and the sense of safety it represented. Now, as an adult, he was determined to restore the lighthouse to its former glory, believing it could once again serve as a beacon of hope for the town. With limited resources, Leo began the ambitious project of restoring the lighthouse. He started by securing what little funding he could, sourcing materials, and rallying a small group of volunteers. The project faced immediate challenges, including logistical issues, financial constraints, and the town's initial skepticism. Many residents were unsure if the restoration was worth the investment, given the town's economic difficulties. Despite these obstacles, Leo pressed on. He balanced his day job with the restoration work, often working late into the night and on weekends. The task was immense, and the progress was slow, but Leo remained hopeful, driven by his vision of a restored lighthouse that could inspire the town and attract visitors. One fateful evening, as the restoration work was beginning to show promise, a fierce storm hit Seaview. The wind howled and the rain poured, battering the coast and causing severe damage to the partially restored lighthouse. The storm's destruction was devastating. Scaffolding was torn down, walls were damaged, and the progress made was significantly set back. Leo was heartbroken. The storm seemed to erase all the hard work and hope he had invested in the project. The financial strain of repairing the damage was overwhelming, and the town's skepticism grew louder. Many began to question whether the lighthouse could ever be fully restored, and whether Leo should abandon the project altogether. In his darkest moment, Leo made a choice. Instead of giving up, he decided to reach out to the community for help. He organized a town meeting to share his story, the challenges he faced, and his vision for the lighthouse. His heartfelt appeal resonated with the residents, many of whom were moved by his dedication and passion. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Local businesses and residents came together, offering financial support, materials, and labor. A local historian and engineer, inspired by Leo's commitment, volunteered their expertise to help with the restoration. Fundraising events were organized, and the community's support breathed new life into the project. With renewed determination and collective effort, the restoration of the lighthouse progressed rapidly. The expertise of the historian and engineer brought innovative solutions, and the community's involvement transformed the project into a symbol of unity and resilience. The lighthouse, once a symbol of decay, began to take on a new, hopeful light. The grand reopening of the lighthouse was a moment of celebration for Seaview. The restored lighthouse stood proudly on the cliff, its light shining once more, guiding ships safely and serving as a symbol of hope for the town. The restoration had not only revitalized the landmark, but also brought the community together, fostering a renewed sense of pride and connection. Leo's story of perseverance and the lighthouse's transformation became an inspiration for others. It demonstrated that even in the face of adversity, hope and determination could lead to remarkable outcomes. The Lighthouse of Hope became more than just a restored building. It became a testament to the power of collective effort and the belief that, with enough dedication and support, even the greatest challenges could be overcome. In the years that followed, the lighthouse continued to serve as a beacon for Seaview, drawing tourists and serving as a reminder of the town's resilience. Leo's legacy lived on through the restored lighthouse, and his story inspired future generations to pursue their dreams, no matter how daunting the journey might seem. The Phoenix Library. In the bustling city of Lumina, known for its vibrant art scene and cultural richness, stood an old library that had once been the heart of the community. The Phoenix Library, with its grand architecture and historical significance, had seen better days. Over the years, it had fallen into disrepair, its shelves empty and its halls quiet. Julian Carter, a passionate young librarian with a deep love for literature and history, had always dreamed of restoring the Phoenix Library to its former glory. He believed that the library could once again become a beacon of knowledge and inspiration for the city. Despite the library's current state of neglect, Julian was determined to breathe new life into it. Starting with a small group of volunteers, Julian began the arduous task of cleaning and repairing the library. He organized fundraising events, wrote grant proposals, and worked tirelessly to secure donations. However, his efforts were met with skepticism from city officials who doubted the feasibility of the project, and from a public that had long since moved on from the library's past glory. Julian faced numerous challenges. The library's infrastructure was crumbling, and every repair seemed to uncover new issues. Financial difficulties compounded the problem, as the donations and grants were insufficient to cover the growing costs. Julian worked multiple jobs to support himself and the project, often staying up late into the night to manage the restoration work. One evening, as Julian was sifting through the ashes of a damaged shelf, he received devastating news. A fire had broken out in the library. The flames had caused extensive damage, destroying much of the progress he had made. The fire had also led to significant financial losses and left Julian feeling emotionally drained. In the wake of the fire, Julian was overwhelmed. The thought of abandoning the project crossed his mind more than once. He questioned whether he had the strength to continue and whether the library could ever be saved. The weight of the loss and the continued skepticism from the city left him feeling defeated. Despite his doubts, Julian decided to reach out for help. He organized a community meeting, sharing his story and the challenges he had faced. To his surprise, the community responded with overwhelming support. Residents who had once been indifferent now rallied around Julian, inspired by his dedication and passion for the library. A local philanthropist, Mrs. Evelyn Hart, who had a long-standing appreciation for the library's history, offered a significant donation to help with the restoration. A team of architects and volunteers came forward to assist with the rebuilding efforts, bringing fresh ideas and innovative solutions to the project. With renewed energy and resources, Julian and his team set to work. The rebuilding process was a collaborative effort, with the community coming together to contribute their skills and knowledge. The library was redesigned to include modern amenities while preserving its historic charm. New technologies were incorporated to make the library more accessible and functional. The grand reopening of the Phoenix Library was a momentous occasion for Lumina. The once neglected building had been transformed into a vibrant center for learning and culture. The community celebrated the library's rebirth with a festival that included readings, performances, and a showcase of local talent. Julian's perseverance and the community's support had turned a dream into reality. The Phoenix Library now stood as a symbol of hope and renewal, reflecting the resilience and spirit of the city. Julian's story inspired others to believe in the power of determination and collaboration, proving that even in the face of overwhelming challenges, hope and hard work could lead to extraordinary achievements. In the years that followed, the Phoenix Library became a hub of activity and inspiration. Julian continued to work passionately, expanding the library's programs and outreach efforts. His legacy was not just in the restored building, but in the revitalized spirit of the community and the renewed appreciation for the power of knowledge and culture. The Phoenix Library's journey from decay to triumph was a testament to the power of hope and perseverance. It reminded everyone that no matter how dark the moment, there is always the potential for renewal and success if one remains steadfast in their efforts. The light in the darkness. In the heart of Arborville, a town that once buzzed with the energy of industry and community spirit, Clara Mitchell stood on the edge of her family farm, gazing out at the fields that had seen better days. The farm, passed down through generations, was now a shadow of its former self. Once filled with thriving crops and laughter, it now lay fallow, the soil exhausted, and the buildings in disrepair. Clara was a young woman with a dream. She wanted to turn the old farm into a center for renewable energy, an idea that had sparked in her mind during her studies in environmental science. The goal was ambitious: to transform the farm into a sustainable energy hub that could provide clean energy to the town and be a beacon of hope in the community. Her dream, however, came with its own set of challenges. The farm's infrastructure was outdated, and the financial resources required to implement her vision were beyond her reach. Clara had invested her savings into the project, but with little progress, her funds were running low. The townsfolk were skeptical, having seen many grand plans falter over the years. Despite the setbacks, Clara worked tirelessly. She spent her days researching and learning about renewable energy technologies, and her nights were devoted to repairing and maintaining the farm. She took on extra jobs to keep the farm running and to pay off mounting bills. Her dedication was unwavering, but as months turned into years, the challenges seemed to multiply. One particularly harsh winter, the town was hit by a severe storm. Heavy snow and high winds caused significant damage to Clara's farm. The wind turbines she had installed were broken, and the solar panels were buried under a thick layer of snow. The old barn collapsed under the weight of the snow, and the machinery she had painstakingly acquired was damaged beyond immediate repair. Clara was devastated. She stood in the ruins of her dream, her heart heavy with disappointment. The financial strain was unbearable, and the weight of the community's doubt pressed heavily on her. Her friends and neighbors, once hopeful, began to express their concerns, suggesting she abandon her dream and find a more practical solution. In her darkest moments, Clara considered giving up. She felt the crushing weight of failure, and the vision she had worked so hard to achieve seemed out of reach. But even as her resolve wavered, a small, persistent voice in the back of her mind urged her to hold on. It was the same voice that had guided her through countless sleepless nights and relentless challenges. One evening, as Clara sat alone in her small, dimly lit kitchen, she received an unexpected visitor. It was Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who had been a close friend of Clara's family. Mrs. Thompson brought with her a box of old photographs and letters that had belonged to Clara's grandparents. Among them was a letter from Clara's grandfather, detailing his own struggles to keep the farm running during the Great Depression. Reading the letter, Clara was struck by the similarities between her grandfather's experiences and her own. He had faced financial ruin and the skepticism of others, but he had never given up. His words resonated deeply with Clara. reminding her of the values and resilience that had been a part of her family's legacy for generations. Inspired by her grandfather's story, Clara decided to reach out to the community for support. She organized a town meeting to share her vision and the challenges she had faced. To her surprise, the townsfolk responded with empathy and encouragement. Many of them had been touched by Clara's dedication and were willing to lend a hand. With renewed determination, Clara began the process of rebuilding. The community rallied around her, offering their skills and resources. Local craftsmen helped repair the damaged buildings, while engineers and volunteers worked to fix the renewable energy systems. The town's enthusiasm grew as they saw the progress being made. Clara's story spread far beyond Arborville, inspiring others who faced seemingly insurmountable challenges. Her journey was a testament to the power of perseverance and the belief that, even in the darkest times, hope can light the way forward. In the years that followed, Clara continued to innovate and expand her project. Her farm became a model for sustainable energy, and she used her success to advocate for environmental issues and support other aspiring entrepreneurs. Clara's legacy was not just the farm she had rebuilt, but the hope and inspiration she had shared with countless others. The light in the darkness that had once seemed so distant now shone brightly for all to see. Clara's unwavering hope and determination had turned her dream into a reality, proving that even in the face of adversity, there is always a way forward as long as one never loses hope.